It looks like we're live. Sometimes I don't know whether we're live or not on here now. Things are changing on StreamYard. There's lots of new features and things like that. Welcome, everybody. Just getting some beautiful agua de Benasal. Probably one of the best waters in the world. Pure, gorgeous. Welcome to Sunday edition of The Accidental Psychic. Yeah, don't be frightened of saying that, Mark. Don't be embarrassed. Was the name of the title of the book that first book that I wrote. There you go. Title, Diary of an Accidental Psychic, an ordinary man living an extraordinary life, which was pretty true. Okay, get comfy. Got my whoopee cushion. We're going to deep dive today in a conversation of a client sent a message via YouTube, and it said, I'm getting a little confused on how to recognize good people with attachments versus dark people. Are you able to help me comprehend the difference? First of all, I'd like to say, first of all, I'd like to say, has anybody ever held a Moldavite and known it was a Moldavite? You just know, or held a fake Moldavite. Got some fakes over there that I actually use them to practice on because it's glass and it still has energy. So so as a psychic, holding crystals and feeling them, it's like going to the gym and exercising. If you want to build a muscle up here, you're going to be lifting here. Well, next door neighbour's coming out and she'll be on the veranda talking Spanish and putting me off. She's lovely. I've got some great neighbours, I've got to say. Lovely. Okay, so some Moldavite here. So, or like right now, just here, there's like tingling, crazy tingling. Soon as I picked it up and put it in my hand, oof, there's a pain right here. Wow, that's Moldavite. Put that down, pick another piece of Moldavite. Oh, I feel this, I feel that. Okay, it's Moldavite. I pick up a fake piece. Yeah, there's no feeling of any kind of healing or any kind of, it's just, yeah, it's glass, but it doesn't feel like it's the same. It's just not the same. And that's how I choose Moldavite. I touch it and wait till I get a certain feeling. As soon as I get that feeling, wherever it is, that's Moldavite. So when somebody asks me how can you tell the difference between somebody who is a dark soul and somebody who is a good soul, or there's so many categories. Did you know I used to do day workshops on this? I've done maybe 20 or 30 minimum full day workshops all over the world on this, how to spot entities, attachments, and how to understand demonic forces and how to delve into that, how to know whether somebody's got that or not. I mentioned something yesterday about a lady called, I never remember her name, Delora Cannon. Okay, so because somebody sent me a video, and I'd seen videos in the past year or so pop up, and she talks about certain things. I wasn't correct, by the way, so whatever I said wasn't 100%, and people picked up on that. Look, I only know what I see there. So whatever her teachings were, I don't know. I have no idea. All I can see is what somebody shows me, and then they said, "Oh no, she's nothing like that. She's this and that," and she's like, okay, she's a bit like Dr. Brian Wise. And what they do is that, like, a dear friend sent me a message saying, so what they do is that they put you into a hypnosis. I don't like hypnosis, full stop. Okay, I have an issue with it. I don't like messing with the brain. I don't like messing with the brain. I think it's a complicated thing. And the best I want is energy healing. I want it natural. I don't want to mess with the brain in any way. So I'm not really into it. I've seen what it does to people, because when I was I wasn't really a magician, but I was trying to be a magician, learning, and I did things with kids, playing with them, at parties and stuff, when it was like my best friend's party. And if I was at a nightclub, I'd do some magic and stuff, but I wasn't involved with the magic circle. They wouldn't let me in because I wasn't good enough, which is fair enough, but I can do tricks. And I've shown you before, this is one. You just push that in here, but you make sure you push it, and then and it disappears. Then you rub your hand, and then you go like that. And yeah, I put that. That was, yeah, it's because I've got invisible pockets here and there. So I do a little bit of magic, and I enjoyed it. At one point, I wanted to do hypnosis because I didn't know anything about it, and I wanted to learn about it. And then I started studying it and started getting a bad feeling. Didn't like it. Didn't like the thought that I turned somebody into a chicken running around the room like a chicken. I can't explain why, but I don't like that. I don't like messing with the mind. And I know in the teaching of this, which I was taught, or halfway through I left, I didn't want to learn anymore. And I had some tapes, I was learning from tapes and stuff. And, part of it is that they say that most of humanity wants fame, but they're frightened of the laughter and the mocking. So when you tell people that they're hypnotized, they can use that as an excuse to do silly things. I didn't really fully believe that. I believe, there is a kind of hypnotic state you can put people in. And you can use various tricks, as one is like this. If you interlock your fingers together like that, turn it that way, and then push up as hard as you can, and then you'll say to the crowd, you cannot release your fingers now. Push, keep pushing. You cannot release your fingers. I will not allow you to release. Well, if you push up and you push, it's hard to release your fingers. So it's all kind of, I would say it's manipulation. That's how I see it. It's a manipulation, and I don't like to manipulate people. I don't like to do that. I like to do magic. That's not manipulation, because I'm not trying to make them do anything. I'm just trying to bring joy to them. It's a difficult conversation, but that said, going back to the Moldavite, you have a sense, you have a knowing, you just know. The more you work with it, the more you know. And I would say the same thing about life and about understanding these bodysuits, these bio machines. I don't know. They're a complicated thing, this machine. And you have to understand that if we're putting it into categories, there's a lot. Like category 1, you've got a beautiful soul inside, but they've been brainwashed by society, by whatever their fears are, whatever their abuse was. And now they fully function on the brain, whatever the brain has been programmed to. Very, very difficult to, to spot, are they a good soul or not? Then you've got these bodysuits with, I believe, no soul at all. So the bodysuit is a fantastic bodysuit. It works fully. It's basically a worker. And I actually believe that these bodysuits were made for slaves to actually just do what they were programmed to, do things, to be a slave. And I think something happened, and I think that is a bit of magic, that in the sense of spiritual, Mother Nature, the spirit world, whatever world, something happened, and that a spirit can go into these bodies. A spirit can enter into these bodies and become the driving force of that. DeLorean Cannon. If I remember right, a while ago, I watched some videos which were sent to me, and she talked about NPCs, you know, and she was explaining that these are people. I find it fascinating because I never really heard anybody talk to her about what I would have asked, like, how do you know? Can you have a really beautiful relationship with an NPC? Well, I never heard her mention that. But for me, if you were to ask me that, I would say, yes, of course you can. Because it's like having a relationship with your computer. It will give you the information that you want, depending on what the information that computer has been programmed with. So if it's an NPC, again, I hate using that word. I don't like using the word sheep. And only time I do use them words is when I'm really pissed off, when I'm really angry with society, when I'm angry with the way humanity is going. I'll use them words. I don't like them. I think they're degrading, they're awful, and they make you sound like you're full of ego. So I don't like it. But what other words can you use? Are the words, you know, that they are? Backdrop people. You know, that's another word they use. Fillers in. They just fill in the actual your life. They're there because they're there for your life, to be involved in that here and there, but just to be non-player characters. That's what NPCs mean, right? Non-player characters. That was derived from computer games. Funny enough, because we are a computer, really. The only difference is what's inside. What's inside these bodies, these, you know, symbiotic, biotic bodies, these, you know, incredible things, incredible bodies, right? Really incredible. So here's a good one. You're having a conversation with somebody who is a non-player character. You've known them all their life. They eat, drink, sleep, and work. They do everything that they would normally do, what you would do. You'd do all the same things. It's just when you actually talk to them about something deep, there is a glaze that comes over their eyes. That glaze is not like it's something the opposite of knowing. Right? It's like it's the opposite of knowing. What's the opposite of that? Like, I don't know, but I know, right? Oh, I know exactly what you're saying. That glaze where there's nothing there. I mean, some of you might have met people like that, that maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, just had no clue to what you said when you said you think there's something very disturbing, very dark. There's something very spiritual, but it feels like there's a battle between light and death. You tried to speak beyond the program, which there are no words. It's only a feeling. You just feel something. Something's very wrong with what's happening. I see it all around, and it's a glares look, like they're looking at you saying, no, there's a virus. 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 Oh, there's a virus. There's a virus. There's a virus. It's like the robots, right? It's like, what? And you no, this is what you do. You are trying to communicate to the soul. There ain't a soul inside that you're trying to have a soul to soul with. All it is on a brain level. And it's hurtful for you because it's killing you because you're trying to connect to their soul, but there ain't no soul there. So you feel bad, and then you feel alone, and you feel like, what's wrong? And you walk away and like, is there something wrong with me? No, there's not wrong with you. You just couldn't connect to their soul. So moving on from that, you've got people who have been and drunk a lot of tap water and so on, and their soul, which is in there, has somehow become dumbed down. And I think the powers that be, the global satanic powers that be, know that they have to cause chaos in your body, so your body will just be in that chaos state. So there is no little whisper that says, hey, Mark, or hey, don't go down that road. Just slow down a little bit here. Just slow down in the car a little bit. I don't know why. I slowed down. Why did I slow down? Boom! That's why I slowed down. I could have just been killed then. Oh my God! Have you read the papers last night? You know, somebody got raped on that street. Somebody got like. I was going to walk on that street. Oh, do you know what? I left early at the nightclub. I don't know why I left early. Have you read the papers? There were people getting glassed and bottled in that nightclub. Right. You try and explain this to somebody who hasn't a soul. It's difficult. It's only on a brain level. They can see it on one level only. When you're sat down in an audience and somebody's speaking, okay? If you're sat down next to somebody who is a body and they're lovely, they're kind, they work hard, they're caring, but there is no soul, when they're sat there, they're listening to the speaker. They're listening to the speaker as I am typing into my computer information that I want it to know. And once that information is there, it's great. It will utilize that information for whenever necessary. There you go. When you're sat in the audience, you are having a conversation. There is no conversation here. There's just a program, input. But you're there and you're listening and you're thinking, no, that doesn't feel right. And then, hang on a minute. What about, hang on, that was amazing. Yeah. And you're having a conversation. Your brain doesn't have a conversation on its own, because what's the point of a brain talking when who the bloody hell's listening? It's just the brain. But you have a conversation. So the brain and the consciousness is that there's an extra inner voice. It's an inner voice what's having a good chat while you're very interested in the conversation, or you're not interested in the conversation, and you're putting the pieces together. You're using your consciousness that is saying, no, it's bullshit. But he's saying the right thing. Oh, isn't this wonderful? It's bullshit. What do you mean it's bullshit? Glare. It's bullshit, Tracy. He's talking bullshit. Is what he's saying. What do you mean, Mark? Well, he's telling you about how wonderful this house is, and that you can have this house for 2 weeks in a year if you just pay as little as 15,000, and so on and so on. But it's bullshit. You don't really get anything. And you know what? What about when he sold it too many times, and you try and book the weeks that you want to, and you can't. And well, I think it's great. It's a brilliant idea. I can't afford a house, but isn't it lovely? This is my house now, and it's going to be my house for the rest of my life. But it isn't your house. You're just borrowing it for 2 weeks, and you're paying him a fortune. And you might not be able to, and things go wrong. And you know what? Maybe it's not your house. I don't understand what you're talking about. It's all perfectly clear to me. Yeah, I can't explain why, but I just know this is bullshit. This is bullshit. He is trying to sell you something, and it's not really worth buying, in my humble opinion. I think it's dodgy. I think there's something wrong. I have a feeling that this guy is a crook. and I can feel. So something smells rotten. I don't know what you mean. I think it's great. I'm going to buy it. So the little things that I share with you today, guys, are the things that I want you to understand. That is there anything wrong with somebody who is a non-player character? No, there isn't. Am I any better than that person? No, they could be absolutely beautiful as in the body that they have, just like my body. So they don't cause harm. All they want to do is their program. And normally if the program is pain and suffering, then the worst you'll get is that they moan a lot. They do everything that the program tells them to, which is they get up 9 o'clock, work the whole life, come home again, make the tea, cut the grass, all the things that you would do, no harm done, and they get on with their life. They have the children, and that's it, that. And so, oh, it's awful, Mark. What's awful? It's true. It's true. I have met people like this all my life. So why is it that bodies are born and there's nothing inside them? There's loads of reasons why. I explain about when I read about all of these Cabbage Patch children incubators back in the early part of the century and prior to that. And I think it goes back further and further. I think there's something about it and I can't really explain. And I'm not saying it's 100%. I don't, maybe there's a miracle that comes through into, incubator babies that, I'm not saying all. So if you've had, a child and your child wasn't conceived naturally, and it was from a test tube, your child, of course, may have a soul, but I believe that they were created because I have a feeling that when man manipulates anything, it is no longer the pure natural essence of what life is. Did you know that we're coming to a point where they reckon within the next few generations that hardly anybody will have a sperm count. Hardly any man will have any sperm at all. What they're saying there's a strong possibility that this bodysuit is going to come to an end. Isn't that amazing when you think about it? That means that we're going to be gone in a few centuries. I don't know, 100 years, 200 or 300 years. I wonder why they're creating AI technology. I wonder why that's been brought in. Maybe they know something. Who knows? But I don't know. Whenever something's done by man, I never see an happy ending with that in that sense. I never see anything good that comes out of it. Anything that's natural, Mother Nature always seems to have the most healing, the most beautiful outcome. Anything that's natural always seems natural. That's it. When it's interfered with, there's always a problem. Just little things as well. Just little things, and little things sometimes can't be helped. I know back in the days that calipers were used on mothers, and when a caliper was used on children, on babies, when they were being pull them out with calipers, it caused damage to those children. I know some of those children to this day that actually even say that there's something wrong with them because of that. They always felt like they've even said something's wrong with me, and they put it down to calipers, and so on and so on. Could have been the mother pregnant, and intervention. Like my feeling is, if possible, have a natural birth, and I think there's a reason why the satanic system encourages cesarean section. So again, we could go into loads of different things, but I just think natural is best if possible. Again, don't be upset with me If you've had a cesarean, if it's necessary, it is. I'm no doctor. I have no idea. But I think the most natural thing is to have a child, and maybe if it's possible to have it in water. I think that's a natural thing as well. But these are some of the things that I learned growing up, and listened to a lot of dear friends that talk to me about these things. I would fight for mother and child to be as close as quickly as possible. I don't like the idea of taking a baby straight out of a womb and then start to do stuff to it. I think it should go straight into mum's hands. I think there's dark implications to that. If not, I don't think the baby should be wiped. I think the mutual bond between mum and baby, and whatever is on that baby, it should be should be left, and it should just. I just think nature should be utmost when it comes to birth. But anyway, moving off on that. So let's get back to it, shall we? So if you are a good soul, and there is a soul inside your body, and you have taken drugs or alcohol, if you're in a really awful place, it could be grief, it could be anger, rage, because somebody's done something to hurt you. You could be in a bad place of energetic frequency, low vibe. It could be, you could be in a hospital, which is low vibe, and so on. There are many reasons why your energy becomes broken. It becomes like there's a gap somewhere, and that gap allows entity to enter, attachment, and that's normally when they come in. Now, that's not just the answer. There's many more answers to it. It could be children, what they're going through, fear as a child. It could be loads of reasons. But anyway, the point being is, how do you spot when somebody's got an attachment? If you know that somebody has a soul and you've spoken to them very deeply about things that, like I've just said earlier on, there's no glare, but they totally know what you're saying. You can feel soul to soul. If that person has a soul and they have caused harm to themselves, they could have had an injection or something, and now there's an opportunity for an attachment to come along, depending on whether it's an entity, attachment, demonic force. You can sometimes see by the way of their actions, and normally you would know yourself if you've had an attachment. If you've got an entity attachment, you normally can feel it, and it could be very subtle. And how that happens is that there is another voice. And we have to figure out, which voice is this? Is this our own voice? Is this our brain? Or is there something in the way here talking to us? So you're getting on with life. Maybe something's happened, gone wrong, and all of a sudden now you're starting to have thoughts that you would not normally have. Normally that's an attachment. It's normally an attachment. And if those thoughts accumulate and they turn into bigger, more darker thoughts, it's normally an attachment. And you have to clear that attachment away as soon as possible. Some people live with attachments all their lives. Some people who do this field of work will argue with me and say to me, everybody has attachments. They're just there all the time. They're either in your solar plexus, they're in your heart, or wherever. I've done healing sessions on clients, and after I've done a healing session for an hour and a half, they've got up and I feel nothing but pure peace, and they feel nothing but pure peace and happiness and joy. That normally is a great indication that there is no attachment. It's gone. I told you not so long ago, a friend of mine was going through a really bad thing, and I'd stopped doing these. I stopped my work. I don't do it anymore. But it was a cry for help, and it was a really good friend of mine. So I flew over and I worked on this lovely girl that had demonic attachment. And it took about an hour and a half, and I cleared it away. And she realized then that there was definitely something that had attached to her. And you only know it afterwards normally, because before and after is normally quite clear, but before is meaning that you've always got it on you. It's hard to see, but once it's cleared, okay, there was definitely something there. So that's great. And ever since, it's been fine over like a year. So I find that really interesting. So getting back to attachments, the change of somebody because of a situation is interesting. So you've known somebody all your life, you've had beautiful heart-to-hearts with them. There's a soul there, and now they've changed. They're starting to change. And they're not the same person anymore. Again, I would say that would be attachments. And why? Because there'll be some kind of fear or trauma attached to it, or again, alcohol, or any of the other things. Like grief is another one. Grief, they like to come in with grief because you're broken. So I used to work with a lot of clients with grief, and they would come to me as a healer because grief is attached to, I need healing. So I had a lot of people who had lost their child, and nobody should ever lose their child. Loads of people who lost their doggies, their cat, horse, lost their partner, and so on. So I'd work a lot on their heart and heal that heart and get it stronger for them, and heal their mind, clear their mind of all the suffering, that all the guilt, all the fear, all of that. So yeah, dark people. So we talked about those that there is no soul in there, and those that there is no soul in there, and they might be lovely people, can get attachments, and that happens. That's happening more and more, and I'm finding that more fascinating. And it's easy for attachment and for entity to enter into what I believe is a non-player character, because there isn't a divine force that is called chi and prana. It's just basically a battery inside their heart that is keeping that body alive and keeping that brain and that robot. What is a robotic, symbiotic robotic? It really is. So I've talked about this all the time, that the lights are on, but nobody's home. We saw that for the past 5 years with so many just did what they were told. The program, it was entered in to the computer program. You must go now because you will die. You must go now because you will be sick, and you must go now or else you will kill everybody around you. You must go now because you will lose your job. You must go now because you will not be able to fly. That's the program, and they will follow that program. There's not even like, where are you going? I'm going because of all of these things. I'll kill somebody. Hang on. Tracy, sorry, we're back again. How do you feel, Tracy? I feel really good. Then why would you be worried about killing your grandma when you're absolutely well? Because they said so. Who said so? The government. But there's nothing wrong with you, Tracy. You're fine. You're healthy. You're really well. Yeah, but they told me I need to go. Why? Well, I won't be able to fly. I need my holiday. Have you ever thought about maybe there's a reason why they're pushing you to do this, and it might not be for the good of you or humanity? Maybe it's for bad reasons. Glare, glare, glare. no idea what you're talking about. None at all. So let's go to the final part. How do you know the difference between a dark person? There are bodies, and when the babies come into this world naturally, then you would hope that you would have a beautiful child with a beautiful soul. I can honestly say, hand on heart, that I have had mothers come to me in absolute fear and worry and panic. And sometimes they just live with it and get on with it. And they often say that, I've got 3 beautiful children. I love them all, but one of them is, I can't explain it. Can you help me? Like what? You've got to love your child, but you've also got to see that that child is causing chaos in the house. And it's not because the mother's bad or the father's abusing them. The beautiful mother, beautiful father. Two other brother and sister, lovely, kind, but one is just a little shit, so just wanting to cause pain, selfish, angry, hurtful to a point where physically hurt, and just different, very different. I've actually done many years of trying to help these children by laying them down and doing healing sessions. And for the first, I would say 7 years, I tried to help these children. I noticed the difference between a child that is of beautiful soul, of your spirit world, my spirit world, and a child of a spirit world that doesn't feel like my spirit world, feels very different. So the child that I would give a healing session, who is literally going through pain because maybe they were abused by a monster, could have been an uncle that is the same as maybe a child. It's awful, isn't it, calling a child a monster? You can't, because we all believe that all children are innocent. Well, they're not. I met one. When I went to my first kindergarten, I got smashed over the head with a hammer by a little boy, same age as me. I don't know, was I 4, 5, something like that? And blood were pouring from my head, and he was laughing. And the teacher grabbed him and pulled him aside, and I was in pain and I was crying. My first experience with a dark spirit. So, and I've met many of them. I've met many. There are many. So when you're giving a healing session to a young child that has a dark soul, how did I know? By the reaction of what was happening. So the reaction is, if you switched it the other way around and imagine a good soul came, and then there was a black magic, in the sense of, evil, trying to put evil into a good person, because this black magic, this evil man who wants to give the energy to that child, who's a beautiful child and comes from our spirit world, is going to suffer. Well, the same too as my energy will make a spirit that comes from a different world. They suffer. They suffer really bad. They don't like energy of love. That is poison to them. It's poison. It's a horrible subject we're talking about now. I know this, but it's true. And this is one of the reasons why you will know a spirit that comes from a different world, which I believe is a darker spirit world. It is a world where their normal is darkness, is suffering, is feeding from energetic low frequency. So when it comes into this body, it searches for it. It can't find it in love. Love is poison to it. So it needs to change the frequency, and it knows pretty quick. It will start screaming pretty quick to feed from that fear. So it does. It screams and it fights and it bites and it scratches and it pulls. So then whoever's it's next to will then change its frequency to fear and worry and panic, and then it feeds from it. So that's how I tell as a healer. I can spot it a mile off. Why is it that people used to come out with me when I was a full-time healer, and when we'd go out, somebody would practically want to kill me or start to attack me or be hateful or horrible, and people would say, "You didn't do anything, Mark. I didn't see you do anything. You didn't look bad at them. You were just happy and joyful, and they just attacked you." And I used to say, well, I'm very thankful. I never used to say anything other than that. I'm very thankful. At least they showed me who they are. So imagine if I became friends with them, and then now I know who they truly are. So I look up and say, thank you. What I really meant by that is that that person shows themselves as a dark spirit, and I recognize them as a dark spirit. So there is no point trying to engage. There's no point trying to give healing, send healing. There's no point trying to make up and I'm not such a bad person. I'm really not. Honestly, ain't gonna work. You're not the same soul. You come from a different spirit world. So the difference between somebody with attachments is normally you can communicate. If it's a good soul and they've got attachments, you can actually communicate to the soul, and you can give healing, and you can help by sending healing, and you can see beyond the attachment. You can see beyond the attachment. Yeah, there is an issue there, but they're not a bad soul. I know they're not a bad soul, but they've got issues. There's some problems. There's some attachments. There's something not right. When you meet somebody who's a dark soul, you can't, that doesn't even come into conversation. You just say there's something very, very wrong. This person is this, there's just something not right about that person. I can feel it. That isn't that like, and you know how difficult it is being a healer saying these things, because surely a healer should say we're all one, and I'm separating people. You're right. It's the dilemma. It's horrible. It's horrible me talking about these things, because I want everybody to be the same. I want everybody to come from a place of love. I want everybody to hug each other and believe that we can all heal, but we can't. And as you get older, you start to understand this, and you start to accept it, and you start to break free from the program, which is religion and the word of God and Jesus telling us that we are all made in the image of God and we have to forgive and so on. No, that person doesn't get my forgiveness. That person, if half the chance, that person, if nobody's in the room and there's a child, that person would rape a child. That person would cause harm. That person there, if he gets half the chance, would rip you off and steal everything you've got. Simple as that. No, I'm not going to send healing. No, I'm not going to say he's anything like me, because he isn't. So I've come to the point where I understand this. So again, it's a bit like Moldavite. When I'm holding Moldavite, I know what Moldavite is. I don't like to say that because, again, it sounds ego. But the reason why I say that is because I have a feeling. I get a feeling from it. Oh, I feel it. When I see a body come up to me, I feel that body either is from my home world, because I can just feel it, or it's fake, like a piece of Moldavite NPC. There's no spirit in there. Okay, it's a piece of glass, looks like Moldavite, but there's nothing in there. Nothing's working, nothing's functioning. I'm getting nothing from it. So that's a robot, fake piece. That's a non-player character. Okay, I hold this. Wow, I get so much love from it. Beautiful. And it's amazing. I can just feel it. And then somebody else comes up to me and say, "Oh, that's bad energy. That's really negative. I can feel it. I just can't explain what it is, but that I get bad vibes." Moldavite get great vibes. So I guess you either know or you don't. It's very hard, and I've said this. It's not easy to. You can't write it down and say these are the 10 things that you should know about an NPC with attachments. This is 10 things that will help you recognize a beautiful soul, but has been hijacked by attachments. This is a dark soul. These are the 10 reasons why this is a dark soul. Can't do it really. It's just something you either feel or you don't, and you trust that gut instinct. You will, however, also, if you're at the start of your journey and you're starting to understand this, you will go through a process. And that's 100% certain. You will go through a process. And that process is to believe that everybody is good. And believe that that this is a good person, this is a good, and you'll go through that like I did for a good 8 years, and you will try so hard, and you will look back then and realize, wow, I tried so hard, and then you'll realize that you shouldn't have to try. That's the clue. You shouldn't have to try. I did say one thing that really helped me, and I put it up on a notice board, and it was, I will only love people who love me for who I am. And to me, it resonated to me. I will love you for who you are if you are a lovely person. And my quirkiness is my quirkiness. But if you love me for my silly quirkiness, my stupid jokes, my silly tops, things that come out of my mouth that I didn't mean that. Yeah, but that was awful. That was like, yeah, but he didn't mean it. He didn't mean it. It just, sometimes things come out of your mouth, and sometimes you're not always right, and sometimes but I love him for who he is because I know he's a good person. So I have my community of friends, right? I love them for who they are. I know, like, sometimes they've got a bit of fear in them, and they'll say stuff, and I've got friends that I know that, like, they're in panic mode. I love them for who they are. That's who they are. There's a spirit in there, and they're going through whatever they're going through, because that's the point of being this human and coming into it and experiencing all the things that you need to feel, the brain, the consciousness, trying to work together and feel what you're going through and work through it, and how to conquer it and become stronger than it, or just to live with it. And like I said, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Learn to suffer less and get through things. So yeah, I have friends who I love, and none of them are perfect, just like me, but I love them for who they are, the quirkiness. That's different from an NPC. That's different from a dark spirit that has this body, and ultimately you always knew if you were balanced enough, you were in a good place. The thing is, with dark souls, they try to cause chaos to you straight away, and I think there's something in that. I think that somebody who tries to cause chaos with you straight away is a good example of why I know that you are a dark soul, because instantly, if a dark soul can make you feel bad, you're going to be hoodwinked. You're going to be sleight of hand, tricked, not to know it's them, because they're putting fear into you. So it's a double whammy. They do this to cause chaos, into you, but they also do it because they feed off you as well. So it's a double whammy. So if you're in a good place and they're just stood there and they're not saying anything, I don't know why, Tracy, I don't know why, but I don't like this person next to me. Why, Mark? That's not very nice. Something's not right. Something feels really off. I don't know what it is. It feels bad. There's something about them. What? Glaze again, no idea. Glaze again, no idea. Okay. So then the goodness and the kindness, and I am a Christian, I am a godly person, and even if they're a bad person, then I'll turn my other cheek and you can slap me again, and all them wonderful things that if I was a devil, that's definitely what I would write down. How do I make people so that I can feed off them all the time and keep feeding off them, keep hurting them, keep doing that? I know. If somebody slaps me, turn the other cheek and let them slap me again. How do I make all of these beautiful souls feel bad? I know, tell them all the sinners. You are born a sinner. That's the devil who wrote that. Just let's throw a few other things in there as well, which make it sound like, oh, well, all of these are all good, but these here, we just ignore them because, you shouldn't cheat on somebody. You shouldn't kill somebody, right? But let's throw all of these little ones in there, okay? Because they're not going to kill anybody anyway, and so they're just confirming that. But then they're not going to look at that one that says that you're a sinner, and that one there that says turn the other cheek when they slap you. So my point being is that I think that we do live in a world where it's been totally hijacked by religion. I think it's been hijacked by the demonic forces. I think we have been hoodwinked that we believe that there is no such thing as the devil, that there is no such thing as demons, that there is no such thing as bad spirits. We are all made in the image of God. Forgive everything what they do. Okay, I'll do what religion says. I'll follow those orders. Okay. How are you doing? Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. Yeah. Get to know them and do your best and go out for a meal with them because they've got a wife and you've got a wife and you go out for a meal and you forgot about it. That little niggle in your mind's gone and you try and be a good Samaritan, you try and be a good Christian. And then you find out that 6 years later or 5 years later that this dark soul, which you already knew was a dark soul, but you pushed it out of your mind because of all these good things that you should be, that he's been having an affair with your wife. Or he's stuffed you because he's stolen all your ideas or your business, or he's done something that, how could you do that to me? I've been kind and caring. So again, it's all about intuition. It's about feeling and knowing. So I guess maybe I've maybe confused you even more. And I'm sorry if I have. I'm not the best teacher at explaining this because it's so diverse, so long, and for 1 hour isn't enough. It isn't enough. You have to go into detail. And maybe one day I shall write a book, but if I did, it would be 500 pages. And it would be so heavy, so in-depth that it could send you all over the place. But the point being is, if I'm leaving it on a good note, you're a beautiful soul. Trust your gut instinct. If somebody upsets you at any moment, walk away and look up and say, thanks, guys, for showing me who this person is. Nobody should treat you bad. Nobody should be awful to you. Nobody should pull you down and say nasty things to you. Nobody should do anything wrong to you. And if they do, that's great indication to say, see you later. Take care. And if you want to know if somebody's good and kind and caring, listen to your soul. Watch their actions, because listen to their words, because they can't hold on to the veil, the mask, the trickster words for long. It comes out. Something comes. Oh, saw it there. Just saw that there. Do you know what he just did? Just trust your gut feeling. That's it. Trust your gut. Trust your soul's feeling straight away. I do wish you a lovely day. Take care of yourselves. Till tomorrow. Bye.